Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Tuesday. It's June 25th. It is 2024. Big 12-game slate to talk about here on today's podcast. Joined as always on Tuesday by my good buddy, Keith Eister, Eys819. Keith, it must be you doing a podcast with me because there's 12 games. There's just like no like easy slates. Every time you come on the podcast, I know it's going to be double-digit games.
Yeah, we got these loaded Tuesday nights. It's all good though. Lots of games, lots of options, but we'll get in. We'll break it down.
Yeah, more options, more like opportunities for people to mess up, right? Like that's
Yep.
what we got to look at the end of the day. So hope everyone's having a great Monday night. What's up, YouTube chats? I laid sod today in my front yard, and I am sore. Getting old is so much fun. So yeah, I'm in a wonderful mood. I can breathe. So like already a step ahead of where I've been the last like 3 or 4 podcasts. So like the health is getting back on track, and I won't get any more letters from my HOA about my yard. So there we go. Reagan's over. K-prop never fails. Yes, correct.
Straight printing machine.
Yeah. So let's get into it. 12 games, a lot to talk about. We start with Toronto at Boston. 9 total. Boston's a slight favorite. Kevin Gausman and Brian Bayo facing off against each other. Any interest here in Kevin Gausman?
On a different slate, I think I might. The Red Sox strike out enough. There's a lot of pretty solid pitching in the 7 and 8 Ks today. If he's low owned, I might take some shots here, but it's been a rough season for Gausman. It's also a back-to-back start against Boston for him. He just faced them, and he wasn't great against them. He allowed 5 runs, 4 earned, and only had 4 strikeouts in 5 2/3 innings. So I don't love the spot for him. Boston's been red hot as well as an offense. They should be able to get pretty left-handed on him. Lefties have given him struggles this year. I think I'm mostly out on Gausman unless he comes in like less than 5% owned. Maybe I take some tournament shots.
Yeah, we talked about Bassett on Monday being in a back-to-back start, and he actually pitched pretty well.
He did.
Yeah. Him and Tanner, how they actually pitched okay. Boston can go 2 left-handed against Gausman, 224 ISO, 370 WOBA against lefties this year. His strikeout rate dips down 3 or 4%. So no Kevin Gausman for me. 2 left-handed of a lineup in this one, and then Bayu on the other side. Again, another situation where he just faced his team last start. Hate that. I really do. Bayu is a lot better against righties. This is a 5 to 7 right-handed hitter lineup most days. They're going to get Horwitz in there. They're going to get Barger in there. And, it just depends on, like, if Varsho is back or Kiermaier. But and Kiermaier in there. So, like, potentially 6 righties. Any interest in Bayu against Toronto here?
I don't think so. Toronto just doesn't strike out enough. He's been struggling with the walks a little bit here recently as well. Pitch count is not an elite spot. It's usually 90 to 95. 88 pitches last time against this Toronto team. It's the contact-heavy Toronto bats that I think are the biggest problem here. I like the price tag on Bayo. Like I said, a different slate, I might have interest in this spot too, but we have a ton of options. We can be a little picky today.
We have a lot of pitching today. We could have used some of this pitching on Monday, that's for sure. So he's like a fringe play for me today. Like it will come down to when I'm like looking at ownership and I'm building out my script on Lineup HQ, whether or not like I play like 15% of him. He's really like that would probably be the number that I play him, like 15%. Toronto bats. Here's the thing, right? This lineup is struggling. I think you could potentially take some shots on Horwitz. He's really cheap. He should hit up the top of the order. You definitely want lefties against Bayu. But, there's just no power in this lineup against right-handed pitching. There's not one hitter in the lineup that has an ISO over 200 against right-handed pitching this season. Obviously, like Vlad and Turner and these guys have tremendous amount of power and upside. It just really hasn't, like, transmitted, and Bayou's so good at limiting righties. Like, I just not really excited about wanting to play any of these guys. Like, like I said, very little interest in Horwitz since he's gotten called up. He's hit a lot of fly balls. Bayou's a ground ball pitcher that, typically leads to more line drives.
Yeah, it's the ground ball lean of Bayo against a ground ball heavy Toronto offense. Like I don't have any interest in stacking Toronto against them. Um, I'm out. Like I don't mind the cheap lefties, like you mentioned, Horwitz and Barger. Varsho was out on Monday, something with his back. So we'll see if he makes the lineup. I wouldn't mind a shot on him, but no full stacks against Bayo for me.
Any interest in the Boston bats here against Gaussman?
Not really. I mean, they've been hot, but they're priced up now. Like Duran is up above 5K. Devers is where he's supposed to be, up there near 6K. There are some cheap options as well. Like Yoshida's still cheap. If McGuire's in there and Dom Smith, like those guys are cheap, but I don't think I'm full stacking against Gaussman. It's been a rough season for him, but I think he could still piece together enough to where I don't want to take a stack against him on a 12-game slate.
So McGuire will be in there. Wong got put on the paternity list on Monday, so McGuire should catch the series. So Abreu being back helps. Abreu's 4,200. He's having a phenomenal season. 243 ISO, 386 WOBA against righties. I could see a mini stack, like one of Duran or Devers, and then like Hamilton, Abreu. Like the two cheaper like options. They're not like extremely cheap anymore, but they're like low 4Ks. So, I mean, I could see a little 3-man for Boston today. Where you want to attack Gaussman is lefties. I mean, they're going to hit 7 lefties here. I assume O'Neill's in the lineup, so at least one righty in the lineup. So a lot of lefties against Gaussman today. One of the reasons that we don't really have a lot of interest in Gaussman. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati is where we go next. 8.5 total in this game. Cincinnati a 120 favorite. Mitch Keller, Hunter Green facing off against each other. Back-to-back starts. I mean, again, same thing. Mitch Keller just faced Cincinnati in his last start on the 19th, so 5 days ago. So it'd be 6 days when he gets his start here. Pitched really well against them, and he's been pitching really well recently. Cincinnati's a young team. They have plenty of strikeouts in this lineup. They can beat you so many different ways. What are we doing today with Mitch Keller?
Yeah, he's up at 9K, and he's deserved that price. Like you said, he's been really good here over the past month and a half. He got off to a really slow start. You identified some velo issues in the spring that translated to a really rough start to the season for Mitch Keller. He's been a completely different guy over his last 8 starts. The leash is long. He's been over 100 in a couple of starts here recently. The strikeouts are back up above league average here over the last handful of starts. So I like what Mitch Keller is doing here recently, and I like the matchup against Cincinnati. I don't like the 9K price tag, and I don't like that it's a back-to-back start against Cincinnati. So a couple of things working against him that I just don't know if I'm going to pay 9K for Mitch Keller on this slate. I think I can get similar production for a lot cheaper. You also have Great American Ballpark to deal with, a huge ballpark downgrade for him. Usually he pitches in one of the best pitchers parks in PNC, his home park. Going into Cincinnati is a different animal altogether. So I think he's a little bit overpriced for this spot, given that it's a back-to-back start against him.
Yeah, terrible ballpark downgrade. His curveball has been deadly to left-handed hitters this year, like 37% whiffs. Woba under xWOBA under 200, as Woba's at 220. His curveball has been an incredible out pitch for him, and the velocity has been ticking in the right direction as far as the fastball goes. But I mean, he's a fastball cutter curveball guy against lefties, and it's just his curveball has been phenomenal. So that's why we see the last 30 days, 31% Ks against left-handed hitters. His walks are down. Large field tournaments, I think Mitch Keller is a guy you can roll the dice on today. Hate the ballpark, but I think he's worth the shot. He's showed us that he's worth the shot. He's gone for over 27 DK points in 3 of his last 4 starts, including a start against Cincinnati. So I think he's okay today. Hunter Green, other side of this game, 8,600, just faced Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. Absolutely pitched a gem, 9 strikeouts for him in that game, which tied his season high, which he had against Milwaukee earlier this year. I love Hunter Green. I played him in that start. He was one of my favorite pitchers on the slate that day. I don't necessarily care that he's facing them for the back-to-back time. Like, there's just not a lot of power in the top half, sure, right? Like McCutchen, Reynolds, O'Neal, Cruz, we know what we're getting. The bottom half of this lineup has been atrocious. Like, it's really, really bad. I think Hunter Green, even in Cincinnati, is worth a tournament ride here today with this strikeout ceiling. And I mean, the dude is averaging the most pitches per start this season.
Yeah.
So, like, his ceiling is just massive.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's the point I wanted to make at the end there. Like, there's not a guy in baseball that has a longer leash. You don't very often see 110 plus pitches out of a starting pitcher in 2024 MLB. It just doesn't happen these days. And Hunter Green's done it twice in his last 4 starts. He's been over 106 straight, 7 straight. Like, the strikeouts coming against Pittsburgh in the last time was very nice to see. Hunter Green has been a better pitcher this season. Like, the home runs are way down. The strikeouts are down a little bit as well, but he's a better pitcher. It seems like he's really starting to come into his own. We know he's got the huge fastball, so he can rack up the strikeouts anytime. I'm completely with you. A slight savings from Keller on the other side. His upside at 8,600 is ridiculous. So I'm with you. I like him quite a bit.
Yeah, I think both these guys are great tournament plays. Let's talk bats. It is Cincinnati. O'Neal Cruz was one of our favorite picks yesterday. He hit a home run on Monday night. I mean, definitely don't mind going back to him or like Reynolds, but it's just home runs. I'm attacking home runs against Hunter Green. That's, where he typically struggles is home runs, but I'm not excited to play any Pittsburgh bats today. If I'm playing like a 20 entry or 150, I would leave Reynolds and Cruz in my pool.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I played a ton of Pittsburgh on Monday night just because it was a weaker starting pitcher and they were cheap and I wanted to pay up for pitching. On this slate, I think we have all kinds of options in the 7 and 8K range. I don't need to mess with the cheap Pittsburgh stuff. Like, Rowdy Tellez is just terrible. Jack Sawinski is a power bat that I'll chase every once in a while. I don't hate Sawinski as a one-off, but I definitely would prefer to get up to Reynolds for 1,000 more or O'Neal Cruz at 4,500. I'm with you. No stacks against Hunter Green. The strikeout stuff is just too good. But chasing a home run is totally fine in this ballpark.
Yeah, Swazinski eventually going to get it going. Maybe Jesse Winker from a few years ago is what Swazinski feels like. Had that really good season, then just kind of fell off. Listen, there's so many ways the Reds can get there on a DFS slate. Mitch Keller is pitching a lot better than he was earlier this season when we were picking on him all the time. Another one of those scenarios where, maybe Elliot de la Cruz. Candelario has been great against right-handed pitching this season. He has a 312 ISO, 368 WOBA, really benefiting from the Great American Small Park. I'm not excited to really play a stack here for the Reds. Love the ballpark. You could get to like Will Benson, Elliot de la Cruz, Candelario. Candelario is probably my favorite when considering price. He's still 4,300, and what does he have? 14 home runs on the season. So yeah, just having a really good year. His numbers are great against righties, and he hits third or fourth in this lineup daily.
Yeah, I'm not real interested in trying to pick on Keller. He's been outstanding recently, but there are some pieces here. You can chase home runs in this park. Ellie has multiple ways to get there with his elite speed as well. I like the Candelario call. India is cheap enough. I wouldn't mind going back there. Fraley, if he's in the lineup, I don't mind. It's been a rough season for him, but I'd be fine with that. As a one-off, just chasing a little bit of power. Friedel hit the IL again, unfortunately. So we did lose a couple of bats here. I didn't have interest in stacking against Keller anyway. So I agree with you. For the dollar, Candelario, just for slate-breaking upside, De La Cruz.
Derek in chat says, Candy freaking goose egg tonight in my Cincinnati stack. That means he's just due. That's all.
Yeah,
all right, we got
the lefty on Monday night too. He has been better against righties for what it's worth.
We got the Subway Series. Yankees, Mets facing off against each other here. 8.5 total. Yankees on 157, 156. Why did I say 157? I don't know. Garrett Cole, David Peterson. Let's talk Garrett Cole here first. Came back first start, 62 pitches. They did kind of announce that he likely wouldn't throw more than 70 pitches in that start. If we do our normal progression of pitchers and how many pitches they increase, it's 15 to 20 almost every start. I think Garrett Cole throws 85 pitches today. If I had to put a number on it, He's 9,200, so the price is down. Is a $9,200 Garrett Cole throwing 85 pitches playable against the Mets in Citi Field?
Playable, yes, because Cole can always go out there and strike out 10, even in 5 innings. I don't know how often I'm going to be taking shots on it, though, just because that you cap the ceiling when you cap the pitch count, right? So he's gonna hit that 10 strikeout mark far less often in 85 pitches than he would in his normal 105 pitches. So because I think I'm with you, I totally agree. He's at least somewhat limited in this start. It's going to be harder for him to find that ceiling on a 12-game slate. I desperately need ceiling. So I think I leave Cole on the shelf. I like the matchup. The Mets don't strike out a ton, but he gets a nice ballpark upgrade going into Citi Field. So I'm still on the fence on it a little bit, unless we see something where there's no leash whatsoever. He's good to go 95 plus. Then I would have interest. If he's going to be in that 80 to 90 range, probably a little less interest. And I just don't think I need him today.
No chance they let the gloves off this early. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
Huge mistake if they did that. Where they're at in the like standings and stuff in the season that they're having, huge mistake if they let the gloves off. So I think he's in the 75 to 85 pitch range today. Can he get there? Sure. I mean, it's Garrett Cole, one of the best strikeout pitchers in baseball. I'm with Keith. I just don't think this is the day I'm going to do it. It's a 12-game slate. We have a lot of ceiling options. He made 3 rehab starts, right? It was 3 rehab starts and then the 1 major league start. Like, this dude was out for a while. It's not like he was in spring training or anything. So they're going to ease him back. They need him for the playoff run, and they're going to make a playoff run this year. This team's really good this year, and it pains me to say that as a Red Sox fan. David Peterson, other side, 6,300. Really good start last time out against Texas. 6,300 is like a very appealing price tag if he was facing anybody but the Yankees.
Yeah, I'm with you. One of the best offenses in baseball. Sure, it's a ballpark downgrade for him, but it's not like he was rocking the world before. I mean, he was really good against Texas. And we have talked a little bit about how his swinging strike rate was indicating there was more strikeouts coming. He didn't strike anybody out in his first couple starts of the year. I still don't think I'm chasing it at 6,300 against the Yankees. They're just too good. I don't know. If there wasn't a really strong pitcher at 7K, maybe I would have some interest, but there's plenty of options for just a little bit more. Like I said, the 7K range is pretty strong. I don't think I need David Peterson here.
And it could always change if the lineup comes out too,
Sure,
Ben
if Judge
Rice
or Soto sits, then yeah, we could maybe talk about something.
Yeah, if they have Austin Wells in there, like Ben Rice, like whoever, like both of those guys are lefties, so maybe it changes. Any interest in the Yankees bats?
You always have to have interest in the Yankees bats. Judge, the season that he's having is just incredible. Gets a matchup against the lefty here. The ballpark doesn't bother me at all for a guy with as much power as Aaron Judge. Soto, I think, is fine. I do prefer Judge, certainly, because Soto's lefty-lefty. I don't know that I want to stack, just because the lineup falls off pretty quickly with Stanton on the IL. Rizzo is hurt as well. Torres is another guy I like at 3,900. LeMahieu would be an only in stacks type for me. Trevino has been really good against lefties in his career if he gets the start at catcher. I just don't know that if it's a full stack for me, given the ballpark downgrade, the injuries on the Yankees offense. I think I'll have plenty of Aaron Judge. Maybe I'll have 1 or 2 full 5-man Yankee stacks in 20 lineups, but not one of the better stacks on the slate, in my opinion.
I mean, you could always play Judge or Stanton against the lefty, Volpe against the lefty. Like, you could always play those guys. Hate the ballpark. Ballpark downgrade is very much in play here for the Yankees going into Citi Field. I don't think I'm going to play the Mets today. They've been hitting the ball really well. Garrett Cole is really good. I mean, you can always kind of chase a home run against Garrett Cole. But, I mean, are we really paying these price tags? Like, Pete Alonso's 52, Lindor's 49, Nimmo's 46, Martinez is 44. I mean, those are the guys that we would necessarily be wanting to attack here. Just maybe Vientos. Like, I like this guy. I really think this guy is very talented. Yeah. But I'm not excited to play any of these guys today.
No, I don't think we need to try to pick on Garrett Cole on a 12-game slate. in one of the best pitchers parks in baseball. So I'm out on Mets.
All right, we got Atlanta at St. Louis, 8.5 total in this game. The Braves a 136 favorite. Renato Lopez, Kyle Gibson. Any interest here in Renato Lopez?
I can't do it at 9,400. He's been phenomenal this season. We thought there might be some regression coming. He had a couple of hiccups there, but he's been right back on track here recently. Ronaldo Lopez is a good pitcher. I can't pay 9,400 for him. St. Louis is going to roll out a bunch of lefties against him. It's going to be hot in St. Louis again. So good hitting weather. I can't pay 9,400 here.
Having a fantastic season. Just, I mean, let's give credit where credit's due. Renato Lopez, no one expected this. I mean, Braves, they can sit there and sound like they're really smart and that no one expected this. Let's call it how it is. He's pitching great. I don't know if I'd like necessarily stack against him, but I don't want to play him today. Kyle Gibson, any interest in Gibson after watching Lance Lynn do his thing on Monday night?
Man. Kyle Gibson has been awesome too. Like that's the other thing. Not only is he cheap, he has just run off a couple of really good starts here. I mean, he got the Cubs and Rockies. Those aren't the hardest of matchups, but the start before that, he had 8 strikeouts against Houston, went into Great American and struck out 6 Reds. Like he's been really good recently. I don't love picking on the Braves, but I think he's in play just because of the price. The pitch count's been right in that 90 range, 85 to 95, basically. I think he's in play. I don't love playing Kyle Gibson, and I'm not sure I'm completely buying what he's doing here recently. But the price tag puts him in play, I think.
Yeah, he's all right. Like
there are better pitchers for sure. Like we're going to talk about at least 3 guys that are just way underpriced for their spot on the slate. So the good pitching is coming.
The thing too is like with some of the injuries to the Atlanta lineup, there's a lot of strikeouts in this lineup right now. So can you make an argument for Kyle Gibson today? Sure, you can. Do you feel good about playing Kyle Gibson? No, you don't. I mean, maybe 10 years ago. I don't even know if he's been in the league that long, but
I think
maybe
he has.
7 years ago. Atlanta bats, it'd be a full stack for me. They're so expensive that I can't see myself like one-offing anybody outside of maybe like Ozuna because he has deserved the right to be one-offed. He has 2-3 home run upside on any slate. But yeah, it'd be a stack for me. They're expensive, so you'd have to make the stack work price-wise. But if Gibson's off, Atlanta, they're still a good offense. They haven't been good recently. We'll cut them a little break. They've dealt with a lot of injuries this year. Like they came in
for sure
as one of the favorites to win the World Series this year, and they've dealt with a lot of injuries.
Yeah. I will say Kelnick's still really cheap. He's been leading off recently, 3,600, very playable. And lefties have gotten the better of Gibson more than righties have this season. So Kelnick would be my favorite bat here, price considered. Forrest Wall has been starting a bunch recently. He's still down at 2,200, another lefty, probably out of the 9 hole. But if you need a punt, I don't hate that. Matt Olson would be the guy I'd be chasing the home run with at 5,100. But I don't think I'm stacking. It's too expensive to stack. Kelnick as a one-off, I think, would be my favorite option here.
He said, 10 years ago, crazy, Stevie. LOL, he needs to retire. I mean, if he keeps pitching the way he's pitching right now, why would he retire? He's pitching great.
Seriously.
The interesting thing today is St. Louis. They've been hitting a lot better recently. Obviously, we've documented it a lot. Like Gorman, Burleson, Donovan, all these guys at the top half of this order. 2 different seasons for these guys. Renardo's been pitching great. He's hittable still. Is there any interest in the Cardinals bats here?
Yeah, I do have a little bit because they're still cheap. The Gorman at 4,200 has been red hot. Mason Wynn looks really good at 4K. Like the cheap lefties, I think is where I would really look. Burleson, Donovan, Carpenter, all those guys are fine. Like I don't know about getting up for Goldschmidt. Even Wilson Contreras is fresh off the IL. I don't know if I need that. But some of these cheap lefties, Gorman's my favorite. I certainly don't mind Donovan and Burleson as well. I think more of a mini stack than a full stack is what I would say.
Listen, at this point, I don't think you can't overlook St. Louis on any slate. Like, it doesn't really matter who's pitching. Like, it's just a completely different team than we were talking about earlier this year. Just so much more power, and it's hot in St. Louis. Like, yeah, I mean, Burleson, he's been absolutely crushing the baseball. He had a game over the weekend against San Francisco where he went over 40 fantasy points. So, and he's stealing bases. I don't know if that's like a thing or not, but like Burleson stealing bases, like what the
I
heck?
can't imagine that's a thing. Maybe Derek can comment on that. But if you've ever watched Alec Burleson, I can't imagine that's going to keep up. He's a pretty big fella.
Listen,
Not that the girthy guys can't run. Some of them got some quicks to them, but
some of them got some speed. I used to be fast. I'm not fast anymore. I'm old and fat and out of shape. Dodgers, White Sox, 9.5 total. Dodgers a 240 favorite. We got Bobby Miller and Chris Flexen. What are we doing with Bobby Miller? He's been, I mean, he came back. He threw 79 pitches. They've been really careful with his pitch count all year. And I mean, obviously, he went on the IL and missed a little bit with the shoulder injury. He was out for almost 2 months. He was in Coors. It was an easy fade last time out. Now he gets one of the worst offenses in baseball, the White Sox. I honestly just don't think I can do it at 8,500 today.
yeah, I'm in on Bobby Miller just because of the matchup. I know that the strikeouts have been a little bit hit or miss. He obviously missed a bunch of time. I'll give him the pass going into Coors. He's going to bring the big time fastball against this awful White Sox offense. Maybe we're only getting 80 pitches here. If there's upside for 90, I'm in. Like 8,500 is too cheap for one of the best matchups in baseball, even if he's a little bit limited with the pitch count. And given he threw 79 last time out, 90 would not surprise me in the spot outside of the Dodgers just needing to keep this guy healthy. Another team that's just dealing with a ton of injuries right now. They can't afford any more. So maybe he's capped at 80 or something like that for 3 or 4 starts until he gets fully back. But even 80 pitches from Bobby Miller at 8,500 against the White Sox, I do have interest there.
Man, I contemplated Paxton so much on the podcast last night, and like he pitched really well. He got 90 pitches again, so maybe Paxton throwing 90 pitches is a thing again. So if you played him, kudos to you, because I think he had 5 innings and like 5 or 6 strikeouts. So
yeah, that's 2 good ones in a row for him. Maybe he's back.
Hey, who pitched really well last time out? Chris Flexen absolutely dominated the Astros in tilting fashion. I mean, no remote chance that anybody wants to play Chris Flexen today, right?
Yeah, no chance. I don't know how this guy continues to get it done. Like, it is just baffling that he can come out and have starts like this. Like,
and
just look at some of his underlying metrics.
It's not like he goes out and generates like 70% ground balls. Like
right.
He's a very fly ball, like he's fly ball, ground ball neutral. It's so, and you watch him pitch and you're like, man, I really think I could hit off this guy. Like the only thing that he has going for him is like his fastball and cutter are out of the same arm tunnel and they look the same, but they're both awful. And like one's 4 mile an hour slower than the other, but like, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. And I watch every start because I stack against him every start, and it's just like he stays flexing on us. Oh man,
there's another guy later in the slate that should be getting his face punched in daily, and he's been awesome this year.
Dodgers bats top stack on the slate today. I mean, Ohtani is the top hitter on the slate today. I know he's expensive, but I mean, they're going to be my highest owned stack. I don't care about ownership. Chris Flexen just can't keep doing this. And like they're dealing with a ton of injuries, like you mentioned. So like we're going to get some cheap bats here, you know. Teoscar Hernandez, he's been dealing with a family thing, right? He is expected to play on Tuesday, but that's if like travel back from the Dominican Republic is like okay. I mean, we're going to have some cheap bats here. Like, it's not like an expensive Dodger stack. You're going to be able to get like Ohtani Freeman if you want and still be able to get a full Dodger stack.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize what Teoscar was dealing with exactly, so hopefully everything's okay there and he makes it back. but yeah, like the Dodgers are the top offense on the slate. There's no doubt about that. They like being watered down. There's still some cheap bats, and like Ohtani is the guy that we want here without a doubt. Freeman would be a close second for me, but it's clearly Ohtani first. And if we get guys like Lux and Biggio, Hayward, like these cheap guys, we need them in the lineup to help get up to Ohtani. But any hitter in the lineup is absolutely in play. I might even play some Miguel Rojas this year, and I have not played him yet, even into a Dodgers stack up to this point. But against Chris Flexen, I think anybody is in play. Like all 9 hitters in the Dodgers order for sure.
It's like a Jason Hayward spot. This is a Jason Hayward spot. Like it's just one of those like he's probably faced Chris Foot. I don't know if there's BVP here, but they've both been around for so long. They've had to face each other before. White Sox. Any interest in the White Sox here against Miller?
This offense is just so bad. I know Robert and Pham and Jimenez are back now. It's still not good. I don't think I can do it. I'll be on more Bobby Miller than I will White Sox stacks for sure.
Yeah, I mean, unless Miller gets a boatload of ownership out of nowhere, because I just don't feel like this is a slate where he's going to get a lot of ownership. But if for some reason he gets like a lot of ownership, I could see myself using like a leveraged White Sox stack with like Robert, Jimenez, DeJong type play, Tommy Pham. Like you don't feel good about it, but
Miller's not getting ownership because of the guy in the next game that we're about to talk about.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I think Hunter Brown is going to be massive chalk, but I'm just saying, like, if for some reason, like, Bobby Miller gets steamed today, that's when I would get some White Sox exposure. But outside of that, I don't really have a ton of interest in them. Rockies, Astros, 8.5 total. This game's in Houston. 245 favorite for Houston. Austin Gomber, Hunter Brown, Austin Gomber. Any interest in Gomber here?
No interest in Gomber.
Yeah, I like when he's out of course. I think he's a solid pitcher, but nope, not in this spot. Hunter Brown, I mean, how do we get away from this guy outside of ownership? Like, he gets the Rockies. He finally looks like he's healthy. He's back 5 straight games with at least 6 strikeouts for Hunter Brown. And again, gets another cupcake matchup. This should be a spot he goes out and dominates. He should throw 6 or 7 really good innings against the Rockies today.
Yeah, the way he's pitched over his last 5-6 starts and the matchup against the Rockies, he should be 10K in this spot. He's 8K. The walks have disappeared. 0 walks in his last 2 starts. And I'm not saying that Hunter Brown is magically some ace after struggling so hard this season. He's had a really easy run of opponents here. He's gotten the White Sox, the Tigers, the Angels. Minnesota's decent. Seattle strikes out plenty. The Angels again. Like, he's had a really easy run of starts here, but he gets another easy one here with the Rockies outside of Coors Field. So one more time, just load up Hunter Brown. He's going to be massive chalk. I'm probably going to try to get over the field on him. Like, 8K is very near a lock button on a 12-game MLB slate. That's crazy to say, but he's at least 1,000 underpriced, probably 1,500 to 2,000 underpriced.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned some of the opponents, but again, like, he gets another matchup here. And like, even on the season, he's done a great job of like limiting barrels. But if we look at like his recent stats, they have been really close to his season numbers, but just generating more swinging strikes more than anything else. And, that's a lot to do with the matchups, but the walks have been way down. So just the command seems better. So whatever he's doing, hopefully he keeps doing here. I don't have any interest in the Rockies bats today. Any interest for you?
I mean, you can talk about a game theory angle here because I think Brown's going to be that level of rostered on a 12-game slate. So if you want to try a mini stack and pick out a home run or 2 against him, Nolan Jones would be my favorite option to try to do that with. Ryan McMahon, close second. I don't know that I'm going to do it. Probably won't do it because I might just lock in Hunter Brown, but that's the angle. I'm not excited to play them, but if Hunter Brown comes in 45% owned on a 12-game slate, there's merit to it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just, you don't feel good about it. Tovar, McMahon, Jones, I guess, would be like who you'd build around with Blackman on the IL now too. Like,
Doyle's
you'd build around those. Those three guys.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk Astros. Gomber's hittable. Astros have a good lineup. I mean, gosh, I like Altuve a lot, obviously. He's 5,100, though. He's expensive, but the rest of the stack's actually pretty cheap, right? Like Pena's 41, Bregman's 42, Diaz is 41. I did not expect the Astros to be as cheap as they are on this slate. Love Chas McCormick at 3,100. Like him a lot against left-handed pitching. Yeah, I mean, a lot of interest in the Astros today.
Yeah, me too. They're just underpriced. Love the McCormick call. Jake Myers, another guy who hits lefties really well. 3,300 for him. Like those two guys, and McCormick has actually struggled a little bit this season, but he has multiple years now of just crushing left-handed pitching. So fully expect him to get back to being great. Pena is much better against lefties. And then Alvarez and Altuve are underpriced for this spot, I would say. Even Alvarez lefty, we know he's one of the best left-on-left hitters in baseball. I'm very into the Astros today.
As you should be, my friend. Miami at Kansas City is where we go next. 10.5 total, not a typo. Royals a 196 favorite here. Chirinos and Seth Lugo facing off against each other. Chirinos not too bad against the Cardinals last time out. Had some strikeout stuff. I have zero interest. Like his AAA stuff has not been great, and you look at some of his advanced stuff from last year, terrible. No chance I'm trusting this guy to go out and pitch well here.
Yeah, I have no interest in Chirinos. It's going to be 100 degrees again in Kansas City. Probably great hitting weather again. And Kansas City's a pretty decent offense. They got Massey back on Monday, which is huge for them. I think this Kansas City offense is going to end up above average by the time the season ends here.
Yeah, Melendez came back recently too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Was he out?
I think
maybe I'm thinking Massey.
He missed it. Yeah, Massey's the one that's been out for quite a while.
Yeah. I mean, I was probably thinking Massey, but
Renfro's the one that missed some time recently.
Yeah, I was going to say, Will was randomly talking about Hunter Renfroe yesterday, and he's like, yeah, well, he'd be in the lineup, and we were both probably like, yeah, he won't be in there, and he had a home run.
Yeah.
So there you go. What do we do with Seth Lugo today? Great matchup against Miami, terrible hitting conditions, or pitching conditions with it being so hot, and he has struggled recently. Like, beginning of the year was great for Lugo. His strikeouts are down. What are we doing with Lugo?
It's hard to justify 9,600 for Seth.
I know
Lugo.
Price, right?
He's been phenomenal this season, but what is the upside at 9,600? Miami's terrible. I want to pick on them. I don't know. Like Hunter Brown and Seth Lugo prices should be swapped, and then we'd have some decisions. But because of the pricing here, like there's just no chance I'm clicking Seth Lugo at 9,600 over Hunter Brown ever.
Yeah, I don't know. He really just hasn't shown the ceiling since like the beginning of May to pay off this price point, but it's also Miami. Like matchup has to factor in a little bit. This lineup is not good. Yeah, on the fence on it's the price. It has nothing to do with anything else. It's just the price for Seth Lugo today.
You look at his last start against the A's. He went 6 2/3, 8 strikeouts, 21.6 DK points. That's not enough at 9,600. I need 25 plus at 9,600. And he was very good in that start.
Yeah, I mean, the walks were a little bit much in that game, and Oakland might actually be better than Miami at this point.
I think that's easily the case.
You see, like Emmanuel Rivera was in the lineup again. It's just like, what are we doing, Miami? What are we doing? I have no interest in the Miami bats. You can always make an argument for Jazz at 4,200. That price point is phenomenal for Jazz. He has so many ways that he can get it done. He can hit home runs. He can steal bases. So like Jazz would be by far my favorite and only Miami player that I want to play today.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like Seth Lugo's at least an above average pitcher at this point. I don't think he's lead the league in ERA good, but he's above average. So I'm not stacking against him. It's just the price is the only reason I don't want to play him. No Miami stacks for me.
Chat says the end of the hockey game is nuts. Well, you got to give us more than that. You know? Are you watching the hockey game?
I do have it on in the background. I've just been catching glimpses of it. And I don't generally even watch hockey, but I did watch the first period and a half before we jumped on here. Looks like it's a lot of back and forth here. Minute 30 left or so.
Yeah, I mean, it was
it's game 7. What do you expect? Like that's why I have it on. I knew it was going to be crazy.
Florida was up 3-0 and then lost 3 straight, and it's back in Florida, right, for game 7. So,
yep.
All right. Well, I live in Florida, so maybe I'm rooting for Florida. I don't know. Dean likes the Panthers though, so let's go Oilers. Kansas City bats. I like Kansas City a lot today. I hope they don't get like steamrolled as far as ownership because like Torino's pitched okay last time out. I really like this spot for Kansas City. I'm going to be way overweight on Kansas City today.
Yeah, we're going to have good hitting weather here. Again, I imagine Massey being back at 3,500 just it helps the stacks so much because we love playing Bobby Witt. We love playing Sal Perez. We love playing Vinny P. And then the lineup falls off a cliff after that. So getting Massey back in there, getting Renfroe back in there. Melendez is a guy you can chase some power with, even though he strikes out too much. Like getting Massey in there is another good hitter. Like it just feels so much better to stack Kansas City. I'm with you. They're one of the top stacks on the slate.
Same Keith, I feel you. All right. Must be talking some hockey. Texas at Milwaukee, 8.5 total. Milwaukee's a 120 favorite. Andrew Heaney and Bryce Wilson. Any interest in Andrew Heaney in this one?
I don't know what to do with Andrew Heaney. I like that game. He's got 9 strikeouts in him in any matchup. Texas has been Milwaukee has been much worse against lefties. I don't know that I buy Milwaukee as a far worse team against lefties. Like William Contreras and Rhys Hoskins are the 2 guys who have crushed lefties in their career but have struggled this season. I feel like those 2 guys are coming out of it eventually, and Milwaukee's going to hit lefties just as well as they hit righties. That said, they have struggled against lefties up until this point, and Heaney is 6,800. Like if I need a pitcher this cheap, I don't hate the idea. There's a guy I prefer at just for $200 more that we'll talk about. I don't know that I need Heaney in this spot, but I could be talked into it, I suppose.
I don't think he's a terrible tournament play. Like if you're chasing some ceiling, I mean, he can strike out 7+ at 6,800. And like you mentioned, Milwaukee, one of my favorite teams in baseball against right-handed pitching, but they've really been struggling against lefties. So this lineup's built for right-handed pitching. Because like even the righties in this lineup, like Adames and these guys, like they hit right-handed pitching better. So, yeah, I mean, I think you can make a slight argument here for Heaney. Bryce Wilson, though, I had no idea why Milwaukee's favored in this game. I think this is a pick'em game at best. Bryce Wilson's not a good pitcher, and he's favored in this one. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. 19% Ks on the season. Really struggling with like left-handed power bats. No chance on playing Bryce Wilson today.
Yeah, I can't do it either. I know the Rangers' offense is watered down. They're dealing with a bunch of injuries too, but no Bryce Wilson for me. The Panthers got it done. Good for them. Good for Dean. He's going to be happy tomorrow.
Can you imagine being up 3-0 and losing 4 straight to lose a championship? Man, that'd be rough. That
would be real rough.
I don't know if it's ever happened before in hockey. I don't follow hockey very often. Like if the Lightning are not in it, I'm out. That's this extent of my hockey knowledge. I love playoff hockey though. I think it's fantastic to watch. I just haven't had time to watch any. Like it's as simple as that. I just haven't had time. Let's talk bats. I really like Texas today. This is another team. Again, we're trying to potentially get off some Dodgers. Off of Houston, off Kansas City. I think Texas is another team today. Seager, Smith, Lowe, Langford has been absolute crushing the baseball recently.
Finally.
Hey, listen, I've been trying to tell people it's going to happen. He's too talented, man. I watched him play it too much. But yeah, I like Texas today. I like this spot for them. Wilson's very hittable, so very interested in this team.
Yeah,
I think Garcia hit a home run on Monday night, right?
I didn't see for sure, but man, he's
About
been ice
time,
cold.
that
So
guy.
that'd
Yeah.
be nice to see him get hot again. And if they can get Young and Carter back, like this Texas team still has a lot of talent. For Tuesday, I'm interested though in the lefties in particular. Wilson has been just smoked by lefties his whole career. Corey Seager is one of the top plays on the entire slate. I'll play some Garcia and Simeon as well, but I'd much rather save the money with some Josh Smith, Nate Lowe. Even if Robbie Grossman's in the lineup, like I don't hate that. Like you can play any lefty against Bryce Wilson. So sign me up for Texas.
Yep, like Texas a lot. Wyatt Langford's still really cheap as well. Yeah, I saw the Josh Jung. He was rehabbing and then they shut him down because he had like some soreness, but nothing like injury wise, just some soreness. I mean, when you have surgery on your wrist, you're probably gonna have a little bit of soreness. So I assume he's back in the next 10 days or so if he gets past this without any issues. Milwaukee bats, when Heaney's off, very, very good guy to stack against because he can walk guys with the best of them and leave pitches over the plate and give up home runs. I don't know if I like Milwaukee like a full stack here today, but I mean, like you mentioned, Hoskins is eventually going to get it going. Contreras is eventually going to get it going. Gary Sanchez should be in the lineup. He's great against lefties. I could see myself using Milwaukee as a mini stack today.
Yeah, I stack them up, chase home runs. I have some interest here. Heaney has been very prone to the home run his whole career. Gary Sanchez is maybe the cheap bet I like the homer most on this slate. If we had a question on the morning grind and under 4K to hit a home run, I think Gary Sanchez would be that call today. So I'm right with you there. Hoskins is too cheap. Like he struggled against lefties this year, but he's done more than okay throughout his career. Even Adames, who you mentioned is better against righties, and that's been the case in his career. I don't mind in this spot. I think there's a chance they could get to Heaney early, and Texas's bullpen is awful. So if Heaney can't go deep into the game, we could see a bunch of scoring late from this Milwaukee team as well.
All right, Oakland at LA taking on the
That
Angels.
has me dying right now. They're
trying
talking about what Dean is wearing or doing. It's too good. Awesome stuff, guys.
Yeah, hoodie on, no pants. That was my favorite. Yeah. Oakland at LA taking on the Angels. 8.5 total in this one. Angels a 126 favorite. Spence and Anderson facing off against each other. Spence pitched really well last time out against Kansas City. He's a pitch to contact guy. He's not typically a guy I want to play on any slate. I don't hate the price tag. It's just, again, he's a pitch to contact guy. Like he's not going to typically go out and get you 7 strikeouts like he did last time out against Kansas City.
Yeah, he's 6,600. So, like, I don't think it's crazy to just hope that he can survive 6 innings, but I don't think this is the right slate to target it. He does get a great matchup against the Angels, but I'm with you. Like, I don't know about the strikeout upside. I'd be concerned on this big of a slate. I need a little bit more ceiling.
I think like we actually have to talk about Tyler Anderson.
Ugh.
This
is the left-handed Chris Flexen.
I know. I like wrote it down before.
He's not that bad.
I wrote it down before I realized that he was 8,200 though. Like I had him on my sheet as like a playable pitcher today, but I look at pricing as we're recording and the price, like I just don't know if he has the upside for 8,200. Yeah, he's getting Oakland. Can he put up 25? It's a 12-game slate. Like we need 25 from 8,200 on this slate.
Yeah, I have zero interest in Tyler Anderson. The guy has an xERA and an xFIP, a Sierra, whatever estimator you want to look at is twice as high as his 2.48 ERA. His xFIP is 5.12. His Sierra is 5.21. His xERA is 4.48. Like this guy has massive regression coming. He has a 224 BABIP, an 87% strand rate. This guy deserves to get beat up. Like he's not a good starting pitcher. He has a 16.4% K rate and a 10.7% walk rate. He's not good. I don't know how he has a 2-something ERA.
Yeah, I mean, gotta run right. You gotta run good, right? He has a 2.24 BABIP. You know, you ask how he has ERA, is a 2.24 BABIP. That means he's running very, 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 very good. Like, I think league average BABIP this year is like 297. So he's 70 points under league average for BABIP. Like, you're running really good when you're not you'll see BABIP in the like 240s for like massive ground ball guys, but like he's not that guy. So yeah, let's talk bats. I have some interest in Oakland just because, again, they're that cheap offense. I feel like I mentioned this yesterday too, but like Geloff is 3,100. He should hit towards the top of the order against the lefty instead of the righty here. And Andujar, right?
Andujar, yep.
Yeah, 4K. He's been great against lefties ever since he's gotten a chance to play. Roker, we know how good he is against lefties. Like Nevin, I could see using this team just because they're so cheap. Oakland's are so cheap again.
Yeah, I played a ton of them on Monday night. I'm going right back to them. They're getting a big ballpark upgrade going into Anaheim. And I don't think Tyler Anderson is any good. So I'm going to be playing a bunch of Oakland. Love Rooker, love Andujar, love Langoliers. Geloff is cheap. Whatever other cheap stuff they throw out there. Schumann is a guy who's been playing a decent amount here recently, has been leading off a little bit. If he's in there, he's 2,500. I don't love punting at shortstop because of the opportunity cost, but I mean, a guy leading off at 2,500, you have to have some interest. Depending on what lefties are in there, Anderson is not a huge splits guy. So if Blade is in there, or Soderstrom is a guy I played a ton on Monday night, like both of them are cheap. I have a lot of interest here in Oakland. I know Anderson has good surface numbers on this season, but the underlying stuff says he should be giving up a lot more runs than he has.
Any interest in the Angels bats here?
Not really. They're a little bit more expensive. I think Mitch Spence is a pretty decent starting pitcher, at least from a run prevention standpoint. If you wanted to take some shots on the cheap stuff like Shanwell, Neto's back now. Adele is still cheap. I don't hate it because Spence is beatable, but not a stack I'll have a ton of.
It's really tough to play this team.
Yeah.
Adele is someone that I don't mind here because like Mitch Spence has a 16% K rate against righties. So like that's the guy that I would be targeting for a home run anyway. Minnesota at Arizona. 8.5 total in this game. Minnesota 125 favorite. Joe Ryan, Brandon Pfaadt. Any interest here in Joe Ryan?
So we've been talking about ceiling and how we need ceiling. I think this is the guy who could get you ceiling. I don't love the matchup against Arizona, and I don't love the price tag at 9,800. Again, like if you're comparing this to the spot for Hunter Brown, it's not even a contest of who the better play is when you're considering the price. We have to play two on DraftKings, so there's that, and then there's the ownership of Hunter Brown as well. I don't know what to do with Joe Ryan. I think he's the most talented pitcher on the slate, probably, but the price tag and the matchup against a high contact Arizona team has me a little bit scared. Like, do I think he can come out here and shut them out for 7 innings? Yeah. Could he only have 6 or 7 Ks in that spot and not pay off his $9,800 salary? Yeah, I think that's possible too. So I don't know. I'm torn just because of the price again and the nature of the slate.
Yeah, I mean, he's so splitsy right now. Like he's just been absolutely dominating righties, and like his lefties splits are really, really concerning for me. Like it's a huge split, or I wouldn't even like bring it up, but like over the last 30 days, 15% Ks against lefties, 350 WOBA, 350 ISO, 37% ground ball or fly balls, and 51% hard hits. Like barrel rate is up to 14.6%. Something is going on with Joe Ryan against lefties right now. I don't know if he's tipping pitches, if they're seeing something, if something's not moving. I haven't looked into it, but when you see this kind of numbers, like on the season, his strikeout rate's down 10%. His ISO's up almost 200 points. His WOBA's up 100 points. His ground ball rate is down 10%. His hard hit rate is up 6%. His barrel rate is up 7%. Like when you see that kind of stuff, something's going on. He's still dominating righties. Like he's still getting righties out at a huge clip. So, I mean, I could see this going either way, right? Like I could see some of these lefties in this lineup, like Peterson, Carroll, McCarthy doing well, but like those aren't the names that you're like necessarily like, all right, like Corbin Carroll last year was one of the best hitters in baseball. He's injured. He's trying to play through injury. Jock Peterson is definitely the guy I think you're worried about the most here. I like Joe Ryan. I think he's an excellent tournament play. I think he's one of the guys on this slate that can get you like 30 plus. But I have some interest in like Jock Peterson. We'll talk about that in a minute. Fott on the other side. Any interest in him here going up against Minnesota?
I'm struggling. Like Fott has had his good games. He's still inconsistent though. I think I like too many other pitchers on the slate where I don't need to try to find the Brandon Fott breakout game here. Just been a little bit too inconsistent here recently. Minnesota is, with Royce Lewis back in the lineup, is a pretty scary offense to try to navigate. I think there's a chance he could pay off his $7,800 price tag. So maybe if he's really low owned, I take some shots, but I don't necessarily love the spot for him here.
Yeah, it's a lineup thing for me. Like if they can't, with Kepler banged up right now and Kirilloff on the IL, if they can't get like super left-handed against him today, he's good against righties. Like he's above average against right-handed hitters. So like if it's a lineup thing, if this lineup rolls out and it's a very right-handed heavy lineup, roll the dice, play a little Fiat at 7,800. I mean, the Angels a couple starts ago, they were very right-handed against him. He had an excellent game against them, and it was just a lineup thing more than anything else. Bats, any Minnesota bats here?
It's the lefties, like you mentioned. If Kepler's in there, I like him. If Larnach is in there, I like him. You have to worry about the pinch hit risk a little bit with Larnach for sure. Let's see. Like they honestly don't have that. Castro is the other lefty, I suppose, that you can play 4,400. I don't know that this is a full stack for me. Again, like that. With Kepler banged up and Kirilloff on the IL, I think you made a good point there. Let's see what the lineup looks like. I might have more interest in Fott than I thought originally, just based on their inability to get left-handed on him. They need to call up like Julian or something. Who'd they call up when they put Kirilloff on? Do you know?
No.
Was it Mart? I think it was Mart.
I think it was
Austin
Margot.
Martin. Yeah.
I thought it was Margot.
Well, Margot's been there.
Was he?
I think it's Austin
already?
Martin is the guy they called up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Margot was up. Yeah, I'm sure they have more lefties that were leaving off here.
I looked at the lineup multiple times and I looked at the active roster and it's just, if Kepler's out, Kirilloff on the IL, they're very right-handed right now. It's Castro, it's Santana, and Larnach, right? Because I don't think Wallner is not with the club, right?
No, he's in AAA too. Yeah, if they called up Wallner or Julian, then I would have interest in those guys. Santana's a switch hitter. That's one we're missing.
Oh, but he's
washed.
Yeah, he's just a contact guy nowadays, especially from the right side of the plate. So
yeah, 4 lefties is what we're projecting tomorrow. So I might have more interest in Fott than I originally thought. Hey, that rhymes.
Yeah, I mean, Royce Lewis, if you find the money and you want to play him at low ownership, like the dude is just smashing. Like he's like, "Hey, I'm back." Smash. Like it's just wild.
Every game.
Yeah, I mean, he's played 18 games. He has 10 home runs. It's
Insane.
just wild. Yeah, it's wild. So Arizona, I mean, I like Jock Peterson. I kind of already talked about it. I really like Peterson today. I wish Carroll was hitting better. I like Marte from the other side of the plate more than I do here. So, like, I don't necessarily want to play him against Joe Ryan. I don't mind, like, a one-off Jock Peterson. I think he's the guy that Ryan struggles with his recent struggles against lefties.
Yeah, I like that call quite a bit. I'm there with you. Jake McCarthy's a cheap lefty you could play if you want to go that route. Not a ton of power, but there's some speed there.
Can you run on Ryan? Am I thinking of somebody else? I think you can run on Ryan.
I think that's correct. Perdomo is another speed guy who hits from the left side you could play. I don't hate some of these cheap lefties also, but love the Peterson call.
I gotta look that up. I'm like, I felt like you can run on Joe Ryan. I could be thinking of somebody else though, but I'm pretty sure you can run on Joe Ryan. Anyway, I'll look it up while when we're talking about this next game. Washington at San Diego, 7.5 total in this game. San Diego a 122 favorite. We got Mackenzie Gore going up against Adam Mazar. Let's start with Mackenzie Gore. Man, he was pitching great in that Arizona start. Like just through like 3 innings, just absolutely dominating them, and just started like the command started to slip a little bit, and yeah, I lost it a little bit. Having a great year, tough matchup against San Diego. Any interest here?
Some interest. I don't like him better than Hunter Brown. I don't like him better than Hunter Green. But I have some interest if Tatis will be out again. He got put on the IL on Monday. So he's definitely out. Like this San Diego offense is a little bit watered down here. If they have some higher strikeout bats in there, I have some interest here. The problem is the upside, right? With San Diego's high contact ability, but not having Tatis is a pretty big deal. There's still a lot of contact bats in the lineup. So Mackenzie Gore is way down the list. I rattled off a couple names there that have far more upside, I think. But Gore, when he's on, does have awesome strikeout stuff and is capable of a double-digit strikeout game. We've seen it twice in the last month or so. I'll probably take some shots just because I think we're getting him under 10% here. He's a good tournament play. You're obviously not considering it in cash games or anything like that, but hoping for a spike strikeout game, even against a high contact offense, I think is in play.
All right, other side here, Adam Mazur. Mazur? I don't know.
Think it's Mazer, but don't quote me
yeah, I
on
mean, Mazer sounds better. We'll go with that. Any interest here in Mazer? 8,200. What are we doing?
Yeah, no. Like he hasn't been that great. He's not that big of a prospect, and Washington doesn't strike out all that much. Like he's overpriced.
Yeah, I mean, like he is a top 5 prospect in the San Diego organization. Really good control pitcher, above average slider, has decent fastball stuff. But like, what are we doing? Like, there's no reason this guy should be 8,200. He struggled in all 4 starts he's made. Yeah, I was hoping he was going to be cheap. I was hoping he's going to be like 6K. I was going to make an argument for playing him at 6K. No chance I can make that argument at 8,200. Like, I think he's better than what he's pitched so far from what I've read about him and like his slider. Like he has like above average slider, like really good slider, good fastball, and he has good control from what I've read. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think I could pay this price tag for him. Washington bats. Any interest in the Washington bats here?
Not a ton. Like you said, Mazer's a decent prospect. Washington is just, they don't have enough power in this lineup. It's hard to get behind them in DFS. CJ Abrams, I love, but the price tag has come up now almost 6K, 5,900 for him. You can always play him because of his power and speed, but like, I don't love it. Rosario's cheap. I don't hate that. Winker is 4K. Like, that's fine. I'm not excited to play any of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, this guy throws a lot of strikes. So, like, Abrams, Winker, Rosario, I think are all fine. But, you know, I'm not excited to play any of these guys either. Any interest here in the Padres?
I think that Gore's a good enough pitcher that I can leave them on the shelf here. I played a ton of Padres on Monday night, and they can't beat Patrick Corbin. So how can they beat Mackenzie Gore? I like, certainly one-offs are fine. I think you could chase home runs a little bit here. Machado, Profar is a guy who's been really good this season. Solano, I think you need a stack to play Solano. He probably can't get it done without bringing his teammates along. Maybe a mini stack of those 3. Kim is another guy who's done well against lefties in his career, but without Tatis, this lineup is a little bit watered down. And like I said, Patrick Corbin just shut him down for the most part. They did get a couple, but Mackenzie Gore is a far, far better pitcher than Patrick Corbin.
Yeah, I mean, Tatis being out of the lineup is huge because now they're going to have to still hit like 2 or 3 lefties in this lineup. And Gore, he's good against both sides. Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons that we both have some interest in Gore is because this Padres lineup is kind of watered down. So not really interested. I mean, like you mentioned, Profar and Machado, I think are fine, but not excited to play these guys today. We finish it out with the Cubs and the Giants. 8 total in this game. Cubs a slight favorite. We got Kyle Hendricks coming off of his best start in 6 years. Going up against Carson Whisenhunt. Any interest here in your boy Kyle Hendricks?
I mean, come on. What are we doing? Is it 2016, 2017? What year is it, Stevie? Just vintage
it was a
Kyle
wind game
Hendricks.
too. Like, what are we doing? He knows how to pitch it in the wind in Wrigley.
He really does. He's been good at it throughout his career. Like, anytime he's dealing with those conditions, like, people always want to load up against him. And like, he's going to give up a home run or two in those spots just because of the wind, but he's really good at navigating it, way better than he should be. Eight strikeouts against this Giants team last time out. That's the part that I'm not buying. And also just the not getting blown up part. It's over for Kyle Hendricks at this stage of his career. I don't know where 8 strikeouts and 5 2/3 inning against the Giants came from. I don't expect it to be back, but he's 5,600. Like, if I need the money, and I don't think that we do necessarily, because there's other cheap pitchers, the guy on the other side of this game being one. I don't think we need it, but man, on a different slate, 5,600 for Kyle Hendricks wouldn't be crazy, I don't think, especially with the ballpark upgrade going out to San Francisco. But you don't need to mess around with it on this slate, I don't think.
He's cheap. He's really cheap. It is the Giants. Can he do it? Sure. Do I expect him to get 8 strikeouts again? No chance. I would lose a lot of money on under 7.5 strikeouts if it was even available.
I mean, the line's going to be 3. It'll be 3.5. Will be the strikeout prop here.
Yeah. So listen, the dude, he can pitch in the wind in Wrigley. He tilted us all last time out. He's really cheap. I can't do it. I know he's cheap. I just can't do it. There's too many cheap bats because we're towards the end of June and there's been so many call-ups. There's too many cheap bats for me to play Kyle Hendricks today. Do you want me to take the lead on Whisenhunt, or do you want to talk about him first?
Whichever you prefer. We're both going to have interest. I know we both like our prospects. He
might be my favorite pitcher on the slate. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with
I'll
you.
let you go first. You go first.
All right, let's talk about that changeup because it is filthy. Might be the best changeup in the minor leagues. This is one of the top 100 prospects in all of baseball. Fully stretched out. The Cubs are prone to strikeouts. Like, awesome park to pitch in. 7K is way too cheap for a guy with massive upside. Been over 30% strikeout rate all the way up the minors. Going back, he's at 29.9 this year in AAA, but 35%, 35.1%, 38%. Those are his strikeout rates in the minors. Like, this dude has just a nasty changeup, elite stuff. It's one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. This Cubs offense isn't very scary at this stage. He's way too cheap. I love him.
If he can develop a slurve, a curveball, a slider, something, because his curveball is what's really like. His curveball is a reason that he's not like a top 10 prospect in baseball. One of the best left-handed pitchers to come out of the draft, and I think he got suspended by I forget what college he played for, but it was like performance enhancing and drugs, but like came out in the Cape Cod League and actually like dominated even more than he was doing in college. And they probably got a discount on drafting this guy. But anyway, like he said, his changeup it's dirty. It's so incredibly good. This is a great ballpark. Plenty of strikeouts in this lineup. It's his major league debut. Anything can happen in these starts, but fully stretched out, 60 innings and 15 starts this year in AAA, and he's just dominated. So the walks, not even that much of a concern. It's more of like, can he just pitch well? He's a tall lefty that has really good movement. And I mean, again, if he develops a curveball, slurve, something along the lines of that, he's going to be a dominant pitcher in the majors for years. It's just his curveball's not great. So like Wizenhunt a lot, 7K. I was actually kind of relieved when I opened up the slate and started looking, and like he wasn't 5K because he would be massive chalk at 5K. Anyway, all right.
I'll be curious to see where his ownership does come in, because we have the Hunter Brown thing. He still might not be all that popular, and that I think he'll be my second highest owned pitcher behind Hunter Brown.
Yeah, him and Brown are going to be I'm going to build in that range a lot today because of the bats that we like today. I don't necessarily like Joe Ryan a lot. I don't necessarily like Lugo a lot. I don't like Lopez a lot. I'm worried about Cole's pitch count. I like Keller, Gore, and Green in that upper 8K range. I guess we should talk about bats in this game. I was moving on already. Do you have any interest in the Cubs bats here?
I mean, it's a guy making his major league debut. Of course, you can have some interest in the Cubs here. Wizenhunt has also struggled with his walks in the minors as well. So the elite strikeouts, not great control. He's been double digits a lot of seasons in the minors. So he could run into problems here. The Cubs do have some power in the lineup. It's not a great park, but making his major league debut, you can certainly play the Cubs. My biggest issue is they're kind of expensive. Like Bellinger's almost 6K, Suzuki 5K, Morel 4,900. They're a little bit overpriced, to be honest. But just because it's a guy making his debut and a guy who's had control problems in the past, you could stack him.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of looking a little bit at the Cubs against changeups, Morel would be the guy that I'd really want to play here. He's the guy that hits changeups really well. Bellinger hits changeups really well, but not against lefties. So, as far as San Francisco, listen, if this game was in Wrigley, I'd stack it. I did, and it didn't work out. Hendricks pitched; he dominated them. I don't think I would full stack San Francisco today, but I am not. There's no chance that I'm not getting some exposure against Kyle Hendricks. He's just. I know what he did last time out. I don't care. It happens. It just happens. He has a 17% K rate on the season. He has been a little bit better recently, but he's still awful. I gave him a little credit there because he's been a little bit better, but he's still a bad pitcher. He does a great job of preventing runs though. So a stack might not work against him. It's just he's terrible. There's power with Chapman and Soler, Ramos. So I mean those are the guys that I'd target here against Hendricks.
Yeah, I mean lefty power has been his biggest issue recently as he's kind of faded towards the back half of his career. The Giants don't have a ton of it, to be honest. Conforto, I think,
for playing him at 5,600.
Yeah, and then the ballpark too, man. It may not be crazy. Yeezy in chat says you pay 5K hitters for 5K for hitters that give you 0 sometimes. So playing Hendricks isn't crazy. Hendricks might give you -10 though. There is that downside.
How many tournaments have you won with a 0 from a pitcher?
Yeah, none. Especially not when there's a 7K pitcher with massive upside, an 8K pitcher with massive upside. It's not like we need to pay up to 10K today to get stud pitchers. Soler is probably my favorite bat here. Conforto, just for the lefty aspect. I don't know if I'm stacking him up, though. It's just hard to get behind this Giants offense at this point.
All right, if he gets 15 or more points, I'll be in here reminding everyone, hey, listen, Easy, I expect you, this game would be happening during the podcast tomorrow. I mean, there you go. So, all right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we'll get out of here. Fun podcast, long podcast. It always seems like our Tuesday podcasts are long because there's so many games to get through, and we just don't. We're not in the business of shortening the games. We're gonna give our thoughts. Yeah. Under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts, I kind of have a feeling who you're going to go with.
Yeah, I got to go with the rookie here. It's Wizenhunt against the Cubs. The Cubs have allowed a couple of spike strikeout games as well, so love this spot for an MLB debut.
I can sneak prospects by a lot of people I do podcasts with, but Keith is always on them too. So we love our prospects. I'm going to go with Heaney today to get 6 or more strikeouts. It might be 1 strikeout or 8, but that's what I'm looking for here. So give me Andrew Heaney over 8K to score under 15. Who is your bust today?
Come on, Oakland. Tyler Anderson, 8,200. This guy should not have an ERA under 3. I need Oakland to score some runs today.
Oh man, I'm gonna go Miller against the White Sox, and I don't feel good about it. Gausman was my other one, but I don't want to keep talking about it. So, it's all love, easy. I agree. It's all love. Michael says, appreciate how in depth you go. Don't change it. We're not changing. I've been doing the podcast for 8+ years. It's not changing. Listen on 1.5 or 2 on these Tuesday slates. That's how you gotta.
Yeah.
That's how you gotta do. I can't imagine listening like to myself on 2x with all my baseball pronunciations. Probably hilarious. Over 4K to hit a home run. Who do you got going yard today?
I love the spot for Corey Seager today. Bryce Wilson's been hammered by lefties his whole career. Awesome spot for Seager.
I'm going to go a little off the board with my home run today and go Pasquantino to hit a home run at 4,400. Way down. Love Kansas City spot today. Under 4K to get 2 hits. Who's a cheap bat that you like today?
Kelnick is still too cheap going up against Kyle Gibson, he's been really good recently, but he still has struggled against lefties a little bit.
I'm going to go back to the Royals. We talked about him a lot. Being back in this lineup is huge for this team. Give me Michael Massey at 3,500 to get 2 hits.
Love it.
Was absolutely crushing the ball before he got hurt. And it was a back injury. The fact that he was back in the lineup and they DH'd him is good news. So give me Massey to get 2 hits today. Stack to score 6 or more runs. Who do you got?
I'll take the Astros. Gomber's not scary, below average strikeouts. A couple of cheap bats in that lineup that I really like, Myers and McCormick. So they allow you to easily get up to the Altuves and the Jordans. Love the way the Houston stack sets up today.
I don't want to keep the Kansas City train going. They're my favorite stack today, but give me Texas against Bryce Wilson to get 6 or more runs today. Any player props or pick 'em plays that you like here today?
Nothing really out yet. There's a Garrett Cole line up. I wish I knew if I had a firm pitch count, I might be willing to take a stab on that. David Peterson at 4.5 plus money to the under. I kind of like the under there. Against tough spot against the Yankees for him. Nothing really jumping out though. There's honestly only 3 games up right now that I'm looking at props for.
Yeah, I mean overall, just nothing that I'll be looking at some stuff. Obviously, I want to see what Wisenhunt comes in at strikeout prop wise. I want to see what Gausman comes in at against the Red Sox. That he was down last time, if I remember correctly. So like maybe even though I don't love him today, his strikeout prop might be something. Bet Hunter Green's prop last time out against Pittsburgh. It's not up yet either. I assume they bumped that up, so maybe I don't like it as much.
Just saw Hunter Brown get posted. It's 7.5. I was really hoping for 6.5 there.
Yeah. See, I just can't do 7.5.
Yeah, that's a big number.
Maybe Heaney comes in at 5.5 and we could take advantage of that. But yeah, I mean, nothing like jumping off the page to me here. Any lines? I guess any, money lines or run lines or anything that you like?
Yeah, I did have one. Joe Ryan is barely favored against Brandon Pfaadt. That one didn't quite make sense to me. I think Minnesota is just a better team at this point. Arizona's had their struggles. We mentioned Corbin Carroll being down a little bit. We did get a little more in depth on that with our breakdown of the lineup and maybe not being able to get left-handed. So it makes more sense to me now than it did pre-show. But I still like Minnesota minus 120 on the money line.
Yeah, I bet Giants at even money to win, just straight up money line. Again, I don't believe in Kyle Hendricks to be this like dominating pitcher. I think Wisenhunt is very talented. Anytime we get like a top 50 prospect and a guy that's proven in AAA that he has the potential. So yeah, I mean, I don't mind the Giants at even, and I think it's only up on FanDuel now. It was up a little while ago on Hard Rock, but I just checked again; it's not up. So, Yeezy said, "Are you going to have a special on your NASCAR package for the second half of the season?" I am not. So we changed how the NASCAR package at the RotoGrinders works. So like when you buy it, it lasts for a year. So like if you bought it right now, it wouldn't renew again until June 24th of next year. So it doesn't have like end of the season stuff anymore. it's changed when the new website came out. We changed a lot of how we do that kind of stuff to make everything perform way better. So early NASCAR champion pick.
Good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I would really, really like it to be Christopher Bell because I have a lot of bets on Bell to win the championship. So, but no, I mean, if I had to pick somebody right now, I'd probably say Hamlin, just because it like he's been consistently fast everywhere. I think Hamlin would be my early NASCAR champion pick, but as long as it's a JGR car, I don't care. That was my preseason bet. JGR, Christopher Bell in the Final Four. Those are like the two bets that I have good amount of money riding on. So that's what I'm rooting for. Keith, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, fun Tuesday slate. Can't wait to start building some lineups for it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what some of the lineups look like when they come out today. Like this is one that you have the opportunity to take advantage of some lineups. If the lineups, like we talked about Minnesota, like it might be a really good spot to take advantage of, that Minnesota lineup today with Fott. So always pay attention to lineups when they come out. Always check lineup HQ for projections and stuff. Play IQ. So that's going to wrap it up here for Tuesday. We're back Wednesday talking baseball. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you then.